A lot of people think about high frequency as this overly confident, joyous, consistent feeling that you always have to be walking around feeling happy, delighted, enlightened. And that's simply not the case. If you're new here or new to manifestation, hi, I'm Hanson. I'm the founder of Manifestation Pulse. And over the last 5 years, we've helped over 200 people manifest their dream lives by connecting to their higher self and becoming magnetic by default. In my coaching work, one of my favorite moments with clients, whether it's weeks or months working together, it's that moment when I can see and I can feel that shift from someone who has carried a lot of guilt, fear, and lack, and finally has moved into someone who are carrying true abundance and true joy. And that moment, that click moment, always has 5 subtle but really powerful signs that they carry every day into the manifestation. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about those 5 signs, what they feel like in day-to-day life, and what's happening at a neurological level for them. If you're new to manifestation, having a high frequency is one of the most important elements of manifesting your desires, because the law of attraction states that like attracts like. And we, according to the law of vibration, are always vibrating at a certain frequency. And that frequency has a scale. Everything that is low vibe, things like hate, fear, lack, all the way through to high vibe, which is love, peace, enlightenment. And the law of attraction, by stating that like attracts like, means that as you're vibrating at a high frequency, you will naturally attract in equal and like experiences, things, objects. So vibrating at a high frequency is essential for you to manifest success. Sign 1, it already feels like yours. Now, a lot of people confuse this with a technique. So they visualize it, they claim it, they act as if. But actually, when your frequency genuinely shifts, you're not performing. You have this intuitive feeling, this wholeness that it is already yours. So what does it actually feel like? One example is that you'll stop talking about it the way you used to. If you have a certain dream, a certain desire, you'll likely be talking or have talked to friends, family, close ones about that goal, that dream, that desire. But what happens is when you genuinely know, it sits in your body very differently. You no longer have to talk about it. You no longer have to perform it. You know that it is yours. And it's that feeling that sits in a very different place in your body that means you trust it. You know it's yours. You know it's coming. You may not know the exact time, but you already carry that feeling, that frequency, that it's already yours. What's happening from a neuroscience perspective here is that actually your reticular activating system, the part of your brain that actually filters what you focus on and what you ignore, has finally caught up to that feeling. And so now it only filters things that are in alignment with that knowledge that it's already yours. So where before your RAS may have filtered in things that supported your limiting beliefs, your old stories and patterns, it's now starting to point things out to you that support that feeling. So if you're trying to manifest a new career and you're acting in that frame, you're starting to see those little things, whether that's new job opportunities, whether that's internal promotion opportunities. If you're trying to manifest a new home, a new life in a new area, your RAS is starting to filter in those things that were always there. It's just that your brain was focusing on the old you and the old beliefs. So it might start to see things like new home opportunities, new mortgage or rent opportunities, new opportunities and ideas and activations for your mind and your body to think about and follow through. It's because it's already yours. It's not something you're performing. It's something you're feeling. And what is that feeling ultimately? It's quiet certainty. If you have that quiet certainty, that is a great sign that you are already operating at a high frequency. Sign 2, you've stopped needing people to understand you. Now, this sounds counterintuitive and it sounds like isolation. It's not. It's that when you first have your goals, your dreams, your desires, and you tell people about them, that can often be met with skepticism. And that skepticism is because of a number of things. One, they don't believe that that's possible. They don't believe in you manifesting that thing, or something else that's going on for them. Now, what this actually starts to feel like is before, that skepticism would have been met by you with some self-doubt, and it would have immediately sent you into a spiral of questioning whether you deserve that goal, whether you're achieving that goal, whether you should even have that goal. But when you stop needing people to understand you, that self-doubt turns into stillness. You can still hear the skepticism, of course. You can still hear challenge. You're still open-minded, but there's a stillness when you hear that, not the spiral of self-doubt. Now, what's happening here is your neuroscience, instead of working outside in, is working inside out. And let me explain. See, so much of our validation in this world is about the acceptance of others. And that's everything we've done since childhood. You know, whether it's certain tasks, chores, exams, jobs, areas, relationships, so much of that has needed often, or we feel, some level of external validation. And that external validation carries through when we start to manifest. But here's the real shift. When you stop needing people to understand you, instead of going outside in, you go inside out. You're manifesting from stillness and wholeness. So even if, and even when, people are skeptical about your plans, your desires, your direction, you hear it, but you don't react to it. You may respond to it, but because you know it's already yours, you react with stillness, and it doesn't affect you in nearly the same way. You hear the skepticism, but your inner wholeness and confidence is the one that wins through. And it's actually one of those poignant and powerful signs, subtly, that you are manifesting at a higher frequency. Sign 3, you've become comfortable with things ending. Now, this sign often surprises a lot of people because we think about manifestation in terms of abundance and things growing for us. More opportunities coming in, more relationships coming in, more connections, more ideas, more money, more wealth, more everything. But when you manifest, you are becoming a different person. Not a different person in terms of your personality, but your higher self fundamentally acts, thinks, and behaves in a different way to the old version of you. Things end because things have to end that are associated with some of the patterns, behaviors, and thought processes of the old you. Now, that sometimes does look like a friendship that's run its course, or it actually can look like an old way of thinking, an old habit that you've had that's ended. And that version of you who needed to perform, who needed to feel like things needed to continue in that vein, has ended. If you feel like some of the relationships you have, either with other people or yourself in terms of decisions, are starting to shift and change, that is a very subtle yet powerful sign that you are starting to manifest at a much higher frequency, because the higher self, the one that contains the true abundance in line with who you are, is coming to the fore. And that's a really vital part of you carrying on that behavior consistently to achieve everything that you can in your life and to manifest everything that you want. And neurologically, what's happening here isn't so much detachment, it's trust. You see, The way to start to see these is you're not losing anything. You're just completing cycles. Now, those cycles come into your life for certain reasons. And often we think about cycles, particularly with friends, that should last forever. But sometimes even those closest friendships to us need to end in order for us to complete that cycle and to move on to what we truly and who we're truly meant to be. Sign 4, small things start to feel like enough. Now, this one sounds very counterintuitive and sounds maybe a bit ironic, because everything about what we're typically taught in manifestation is to want more and that everything gets bigger. But this is about gratitude. And so what happens is that our ordinary moments start to feel extraordinary. So what does that feel like in day to day for you? Well, it'll start to be subtle. Even things like that morning coffee that you never truly appreciated what it did for you, or the way that the sun shines in your house, the fresh air that you're getting from a particular vent, the way that you love your houseplants for providing fresh air to you, a walk, a person you're seeing every day that may be a neighbor or friendly face in the neighborhood. Those little things that were previously invisible actually are supporting a much higher frequency. And that frequency is of gratitude. And that's what that feels like. And that is what's going on neurologically for you. Because what happens is your brain starts to recognize all the good things in your life. Now, those good things don't have to be big things. In fact, they shouldn't be big things to start with. They should be the small, everyday moments of joy. Starting to appreciate the home where you may have seen clutter and mess before. Actually, you start to appreciate where you live, those little quirky things that happen in your area, the neighbors you have, the friends that you have, the access to shops, to food, to new experiences, the fact that you can travel in a certain way to a certain place or many places. Those small things become really, really powerful, because at a low frequency, what you're doing is you're manifesting more lack, you're manifesting more fear, you're manifesting more hate. But at a high frequency, even those small things feel powerful. And that's why it's a subtle but really, really powerful sign that you are in your highest frequency, when those small things start to feel like enough. And that's when true magnetism starts to happen. When you start to notice the small things, those small things become medium things. Those medium things become massive things. Before we get into the last sign, if you want to go deeper and understand how to cultivate this state, I've linked in the description and the comments below our free ebook for the Pulse method, which will take you through a free assessment of where you're stuck and what you need to move forward. Let me know how you get on with it in the comments, because a high vibration and a high frequency is exactly what's going to make you magnetic to everything you desire. It's what I've taught for over 5 years to over 200 people, and it's now available to you. Sign 5, you've stopped rehearsing worst case scenarios. We, before we manifest, are so good at coming up with worst case scenarios because we want to protect ourselves from a just in case. So if we want a new home, we want that new car, we want that new partner, we may have a very clear vision about those things, but we always play a worst case scenario. What if I don't get that? Well, it's never going to happen. So if I manage my expectation that it's never going to happen, even if something a little bit better happens, that's a bonus. That's a win. The worst case scenario thinking is absent now from your thinking. And that's a really subtle but powerful sign that you're manifesting from your highest frequency. Because what happens is that all of that lack, all of that absence has gone. And it's been replaced by a knowing that it's yours. It's been replaced by some of those small joys, those everyday decisions, that stillness that doesn't need validation from others. And it culminates in this. You stop practicing worst case scenarios, because why would you? Why would you need a worst case scenario when it's already yours? And that quiet stillness, really what's happening here from a neurological perspective is that you've learned how to calm your nervous system. You're no longer in fight or flight. You are still. So when you think about your desires, when you become the person that has them, a subtle but powerful sign that you are at that frequency is that you aren't thinking about worst case, because your nervous system has finally caught up to that state, that identity that already has that. So how do you recognize this in yourself? Well, at a low frequency, your thought process will be dominated by bad outcomes. But at a high frequency, this sign means that you're not necessarily not aware of bad outcomes, but they're not the forefront of your thought. The forefront of your thought is the person that has those things, that has those feelings, that is the identity, and that's the dominant force. I hope this has really helped you. I think what I want to share in this is really some of the subtle things that you can start to notice in your day-to-day life. That means you are moving up, moving through, or maybe you're already there at all 5 of those frequency signs. And if you're not, don't worry. Even if you're at 1 or 2, you've made an incredible start. Keep going. Because when you get to 5, and you will notice a massive shift in the things that you are attracting in, the person you've become, and the even more amazing person you're about to be. So leave a comment below if you've got any questions or thoughts. What is that subtle sign that you've seen? Let me know. What is the scenario that the old you would have done that the new you did instead? I'm really rooting for you. Look forward to sharing more. Like and subscribe and share if you found this useful. And I look forward to seeing you on the next one.